My beloved child, be still for a moment. Do not rush past this message. There is a reason your eyes found these words at this exact time. A reason deeper than coincidence. A reason hidden beneath ordinary moments. Something has been unfolding behind the scenes for far longer than you realize. And today, I am asking you to listen carefully. Not because you have done something wrong. Not because you are in danger. But because someone connected to your future has been carrying a weight they were never meant to carry alone. A burden. A battle. A silent war. And the strange part is this. Very few people know it exists. The smiles appear normal. The conversations seem ordinary. The days move forward as if nothing unusual is happening. Yet beneath the surface, where no eyes can see, where no voice speaks, where no explanations are offered, your soulmate has been fighting a personal battle. A battle that has tested their heart. A battle that has challenged their confidence. A battle that has left them staring into quiet spaces, wondering if anyone could ever truly understand what they carry. Listen carefully, because what I am about to reveal is not what most people assume. Many imagine battles as loud things, arguments, chaos, conflict. But some of the deepest battles make no sound at all. Some struggles happen in silence. Some storms happen behind closed doors. Some tears are wiped away before anyone notices they were there. And your soulmate has become an expert at hiding what they feel. Not because they are dishonest. Not because they wish to deceive anyone. But because somewhere along their journey, they learned something that wounded them deeply. They learned that vulnerability can be dangerous. They learned that exposing pain can invite judgment. They learned that opening their heart can lead to disappointment. So they adapted. They became stronger on the outside, more composed, more controlled, more careful. Yet every shield comes with a cost. Every wall built for protection eventually becomes a prison. And little by little, the very defenses that protected them began keeping others away, even those they secretly wished could come closer. Perhaps you have felt this without understanding it. Perhaps there have been moments when you sensed an invisible distance, a strange hesitation, an unexplained pause, a feeling that something was being held back. You could not name it, you could not prove it, yet something inside you felt it. That feeling was not your imagination. There is more happening than you know, much more. And tonight, heaven is inviting you to see beyond appearances. Because while your soulmate has been moving through life, laughing when expected to laugh, speaking when expected to speak, smiling when expected to smile, inside, another story has been unfolding. A story almost nobody sees. A story that began long before they ever crossed paths, long before your names became connected, long before destiny started weaving your paths together. There were nights, lonely nights, confusing nights, nights when questions echoed through their mind without answers, nights when they wondered if things would ever change, nights when they stared at ceilings, nights when sleep refused to come. Nights when their own thoughts became louder than the world around them. And during those moments, they fought, not against another person, against fear, against doubt, against memories, against old wounds that still whispered from the shadows. You see, some battles are invisible because they happen entirely within the heart. And invisible battles are often the hardest, because nobody applauds your courage. Nobody sees your effort. Nobody realizes how much strength it takes just to keep moving forward. Yet they have continued, day after day, step after step, even when nobody knew, even when nobody understood, even when nobody thanked them. And there is something else you must know, something important. This battle has changed them, not destroyed them, changed them. There is a difference. The struggle has shaped their perspective. It has influenced the way they trust, the way they love, the way they protect themselves, the way they interpret the actions of others, the way they respond when feelings begin growing stronger than expected. And this is where the story becomes more mysterious. Because recently, something shifted, something unexpected happened. A change occurred within the depths of their heart. At first it was subtle, almost impossible to notice. Just a small crack in a wall they had spent years building. Just a brief moment when their defenses weakened. Just a single thought that refused to leave. Yet that thought kept returning. Again, and again, and again, until it became impossible to ignore. That thought was connected to you. Yes, you. Without fully realizing it, you became part of a process already unfolding inside them. A process heaven had been quietly preparing. A process neither of you completely understood. Because sometimes healing begins long before people recognize it. Sometimes transformation starts beneath the surface. Sometimes the first signs appear where nobody expects them. And the closer they move toward the truth of their own heart, the harder the battle became. Pause here and absorb that. The harder the battle became. Because every breakthrough creates resistance. Every step toward healing awakens old fears. Every movement toward love forces hidden wounds into the light. The walls they built did not disappear overnight. The fears they carried did not suddenly vanish. The doubts did not simply surrender. Instead, everything intensified. Questions appeared. Uncertainty appeared. Memories resurfaced. Old disappointments returned demanding attention. It was as if the very parts of themselves they thought were buried suddenly woke up. And those old voices began speaking again. What if you get hurt? What if you trust the wrong person? What if history repeats itself? What if hope only leads to disappointment? Those voices have been loud, much louder than anyone realizes, and your soulmate has been wrestling with them in silence. Nobody sees the internal conversations. Nobody witnesses the moments of hesitation. Nobody understands how much courage it takes to keep moving forward despite the fear. But heaven sees. I see. Every moment. Every tear. Every prayer they never spoke aloud. Every sigh they released when nobody was around. Every hidden concern. Every secret worry. Nothing has been missed. Nothing has been forgotten. And there is a reason I am revealing this now. Because you have been asking questions too. Maybe not with words. Maybe not consciously. But your spirit has sensed movement. Your spirit has felt change approaching. Your spirit has noticed signs that something important is happening beneath the surface. You are not imagining that either. Something is happening. Something significant. Something that will eventually bring hidden truths into the light. But not yet. Not today. Because there are still pieces of this story you have not seen. There are still chapters unfolding. There are still lessons being learned. And perhaps the most surprising lesson of all concerns the very battle your soulmate has been fighting. You may think the battle is only about pain, only about fear, only about struggle. But that is not the entire truth. The battle has also been preparing them in ways they never expected, strengthening qualities they did not know they possessed, developing wisdom they could not have gained any other way, teaching them compassion, teaching them patience, teaching them depth, teaching them how precious genuine connection truly is. Because people who have walked through darkness often recognize light differently. People who have experienced loneliness often value presence differently. People who have fought invisible battles often love differently. And that is exactly what has been happening. Slowly, quietly, powerfully. The person you are destined to know is not the same person they were years ago. The battle changed them. The struggle refined them. The journey transformed them. Yet there remains one final obstacle. One final barrier. one final hidden challenge. And this challenge is larger than they admit, larger than anyone around them suspects. In fact, it is the very reason heaven has brought you here tonight, because the deepest part of their battle is not what happened in the past. No, the deepest part of their battle concerns the future, a future they secretly desire, a future they secretly hope for, a future that sometimes feels so close they can almost touch it. And then fear appears again, not fear of failure, not fear of rejection, a different fear, a much deeper fear, the fear that they may not be enough, the fear that despite everything they have overcome, something inside them remains broken, the fear that someone might see their scars and walk away, the fear that if their whole truth became visible, acceptance would disappear. Listen carefully. Because this is where many people misunderstand your soulmate completely. They appear strong, but strength and insecurity can exist together. They appear confident, but confidence and fear can exist together. They appear capable, but capability and self-doubt can exist together. Human hearts are more complex than appearances reveal, and the battle they are fighting right now lives within that complexity. Part of them wants to step forward, part of them wants to trust, part of them wants to believe, part of them wants to embrace what heaven is preparing. Yet another part remains cautious, guarded, watchful, waiting. And recently, very recently, something happened that intensified this internal struggle. Something small on the surface, something most people would overlook. Yet to them, it felt enormous. It triggered memories, questions, emotions, concerns, and ever since that moment, the battle has become more intense than before. They have been thinking, reflecting, replaying things in their mind, trying to understand what comes next, trying to understand what their heart is really telling them, trying to understand why your presence keeps appearing in their thoughts. Why certain feelings refuse to disappear, why certain emotions keep returning, no matter how hard they attempt to focus elsewhere, no matter how much they try to stay practical, no matter how strongly they attempt to remain detached, something keeps pulling them back, and they do not fully understand why. Not yet, but the answer is closer than they realize, much closer, closer than yesterday. Closer than last week, closer than last month. The pieces are beginning to move, the puzzle is beginning to form, the hidden story is beginning to reveal itself. Yet there remains one detail, one extraordinary detail, a detail your soulmate has not shared with anyone, not family, not friends, not even those who think they know them best. A truth buried so deeply that they rarely allow themselves to think about it. A truth connected directly to the battle they have been fighting. A truth connected directly to you. And when that truth finally rises to the surface, when the silence finally breaks, when the hidden struggle finally meets the light, nothing will unfold the way anyone expects. Not them, not you. Not even the people watching from the sidelines, because what heaven has been preparing behind the scenes is far greater than appearances suggest, far greater than assumptions, far greater than coincidence. But before that hidden truth can be revealed, before the final wall begins to crack, before the secret burden they have carried for so long comes into the open, there is something you must understand first. Something so unexpected that it changes the meaning of everything I have told you tonight. And that revelation, the one they have spent years trying to hide even from themselves, is finally beginning to surface. Yet what it actually is, and why it connects directly to your future, will be revealed when the next part of this message arrives. There is a moment that arrives in every hidden battle when silence can no longer carry the weight alone. Your soulmate is approaching that moment, not because they planned it, not because someone forced it, but because the truth inside them has grown too large to remain locked away. Stay with this message, because what is unfolding now is deeper than it first appeared. The battle I revealed before was never only about fear. It was never only about old wounds. It was never only about painful memories. Those things were real. Those things mattered. But they were only the outer layers. Beneath them was something far more personal. Something they rarely allowed themselves to acknowledge. Something that has followed them for years like a shadow walking beside them. A question. One question. A question they carried through seasons of growth. Through seasons of loneliness. Through seasons of waiting. A question they asked themselves when nobody was listening. A question that returned during quiet evenings and sleepless nights. A question that sometimes appeared without warning. And the question was simple. Will someone ever truly see me? Not the version presented to the world. Not the version protected by confidence. Not the version hidden behind smiles. The real version. The vulnerable version. The unfinished version. The version carrying scars. The version carrying fears. The version carrying dreams nobody knows about. My child, many people spend their entire lives searching for success. Many search for recognition. Many search for approval. But deep within every human heart is a deeper longing. The longing to be seen. Truly seen. And your soulmate has been wrestling with this longing for longer than anyone realizes. Because at some point in their journey, they learned how to survive without being understood. They learned how to function while feeling emotionally unseen. They learned how to keep moving forward while carrying unanswered questions inside. From the outside, life continued. Responsibilities were handled. Goals were pursued. Conversations happened. Laughter happened. Yet beneath everything, that question remained. Waiting. Quiet. Persistent. Will someone ever truly understand me? And then something unexpected happened. Something they never anticipated. Something they certainly did not prepare for. The answer did not arrive all at once. It arrived slowly. In fragments. In moments. In impressions. In feelings that made no logical sense. It began as curiosity. Then became awareness. Then became reflection. Then became something much harder to ignore. Because without realizing it, they started recognizing pieces of themselves whenever thoughts of you appeared. That frightened them. More than they admitted. More than they understood. Because genuine connection has a way of exposing things people have successfully hidden. And the closer they felt to that possibility, the more their internal battle intensified. Not because they wanted distance. Because closeness felt unfamiliar. Think carefully about that. Some people fear being abandoned. Others fear being fully known. Your soulmate has spent years protecting parts of themselves from exposure. Not out of dishonesty. Out of self-preservation. The heart remembers every disappointment. Every betrayal. Every misunderstanding. Every moment when trust seemed unsafe. And those memories do not disappear overnight. They linger. They whisper. They influence decisions long after the original pain is gone. This is why the battle became stronger, not weaker. The closer they felt themselves moving toward hope, the louder old fears became. The closer they felt themselves moving toward possibility, the louder old doubts became. Yet something unusual started happening. The fears were speaking, but another voice began speaking too. A quieter voice. A gentler voice. A voice they could not explain. A voice reminding them that not every story ends the way previous stories ended. A voice reminding them that healing is possible. A voice reminding them that their future is not chained to their past. At first they resisted that voice. Many people do. Because hope can feel risky after disappointment. Hope asks people to become vulnerable again. Hope asks people to believe again. Hope asks people to trust possibilities they cannot yet see. And for someone carrying invisible wounds, that can feel terrifying. But the voice remained, persistent, patient, steady. It appeared during unexpected moments, during ordinary days, during quiet reflections, during moments when they thought nobody noticed. And little by little, something inside them began changing. Not dramatically, not overnight, but undeniably. The walls that once felt permanent began showing cracks. The fears that once felt absolute began losing strength. The doubts that once controlled every decision began facing resistance. And that is where heaven's work became visible. Not visible to the world, visible within their spirit. Because transformation rarely begins in public. It begins in hidden places. It begins where nobody applauds. It begins where nobody understands. It begins in moments so small they often go unnoticed. Yet those moments change everything. Your soulmate has been living through those moments. That is why recent weeks have felt different. That is why emotions have felt stronger. That is why thoughts have felt heavier. That is why certain feelings refuse to disappear. The battle has reached a turning point. And turning points always create tension. Part of them wants to move forward. Part of them wants certainty first. Part of them wants to trust. Part of them wants guarantees. Part of them wants courage. Part of them wants protection. The heart is standing between two worlds. The familiar world of safety, and the unfamiliar world of possibility. That tension has been exhausting. There were moments when they wished the feelings would simply disappear. Moments when they wished everything could become simple again. Moments when distance seemed easier than vulnerability. Yet every attempt to push the feelings away created something unexpected. The feelings returned. Stronger, clearer, more persistent than before. And that frightened them. Because what they are experiencing is not temporary curiosity. It is not passing fascination. It is not shallow emotion. It reaches deeper, much deeper. And deep emotions have a way of demanding honesty. No matter how long honesty is delayed. That brings me to the hidden truth I mentioned before. The truth nobody around them knows. The truth connected directly to the battle they have been fighting. Listen carefully. Because this revelation changes everything. The secret is not that they are weak. The secret is not that they are broken. The secret is not that they are incapable of love. The secret is that they have spent years underestimating their own worth. Years. Longer than most people realize. Longer than even they realize. Somewhere along the journey, they started believing they had to earn love. Earn acceptance. Earn belonging. Earn value. Instead of recognizing that their worth already existed. And that belief quietly influenced everything. Relationships, choices, dreams, expectations, even the way they viewed themselves. They became their own harshest critic, their own toughest judge, their own greatest obstacle. While others saw strength, they saw flaws. While others saw potential, they saw imperfections. While others saw resilience, they saw shortcomings. And that distorted reflection became part of the battle. A battle nobody could see. Because self-doubt rarely announces itself. It hides behind competence. It hides behind achievement. It hides behind independence. Yet it remains, working silently beneath the surface, until something forces it into the light. And that something has begun happening now. The possibility of genuine connection. The possibility of being truly known. The possibility of allowing someone close enough to see everything, including the parts they have spent years trying to hide. My child, this is where the story becomes extraordinary. Because heaven is not only working on circumstances. Heaven is working on identity, not only around them, within them. The battle was never designed to destroy them. It was preparing them to confront a belief that needed healing. A belief that told them they were somehow less than enough. A belief that told them they had to become perfect before receiving love. A belief that told them they must hide certain parts of themselves. That belief is beginning to crumble. Slowly, painfully, powerfully. And every day it loses strength, their heart gains freedom. Every day it loses strength, their courage grows. Every day it loses strength, the future draws closer. Yet there is still resistance. One final layer. One final fear. One final hesitation. And this hesitation has become especially strong recently, because a moment is approaching. A moment they can feel even if they cannot explain it. A moment that threatens every wall they built. A moment that challenges every excuse. A moment that invites honesty. Real honesty. Not partial honesty. Not careful honesty. Complete honesty. And that is where the next stage of their battle begins. Because the truth they have been hiding is no longer content remaining hidden. The feelings they have been managing are no longer content remaining controlled. The questions they have been avoiding are no longer content remaining unanswered. Everything is moving toward revelation. Not chaos. Revelation. Not confusion. Clarity. Not fear. Truth. And the signs are already appearing. Small signs. Subtle signs. Yet undeniable signs. Their thoughts have become different. Their prayers have become different. Their reflections have become different. Even the way they view the future has begun changing. Because deep inside, they sense something approaching. Something meaningful. Something significant. Something connected to the path heaven has been preparing. But there is one thing they still do not know. One thing that would completely transform how they view this entire journey. One thing heaven has not yet revealed to them. A detail so unexpected, so personal, so powerful, that when it finally comes into the light, it will explain why this battle lasted as long as it did. It will explain why certain doors closed, why certain people left, why certain delays happened, why certain seasons felt so confusing, and most importantly, it will explain why thoughts of you became impossible to ignore. Because the connection between their battle and your role in this story is far deeper than either of you realize. Far deeper. And in the next part of this message, the hidden purpose behind everything they have been experiencing will finally begin to emerge. What heaven has been preparing is closer than it appears. And the revelation waiting ahead will challenge everything they thought they knew about themselves.